Today I'm going to be competing in week 2 of the Lorcana into the Inklands competitive tournaments. Welcome back to Sean's Magic Cardboard, and today I'm going to be using the exact same deck as last week, a Amethyst Ruby control deck. There are a couple of slight modifications from last week. If you did not manage to watch last week's vlog, things went okay. I only played 2 games out of 3 because I got a bye in one game. I came second overall by winning 1 game, which was great, but at the same time I was kind of disappointed I didn't get to compete in more matches. This week I've made a few slight changes. There's still a little bit of experimentation, so we are only in week 2 into the Inklands. I think it's going to take maybe about 5 or 6 before things really start to settle down and everyone gets a good grasp of what's going to go on and what big cards are going to be in this set. And it's just a lot of trial and error, and at the moment that's where I'm at. I want to try some things today. I've added some cards in, not really sure how they're going to work out, but we'll break down the deck and let's have a look at the changes from last week. Okay, so this is a look at the deck for this week. Not everything down the bottom will be in shot here, and this over here where the white patch is actually my ring light. This is just friends on the other side place it as well. So first off, the changes. We'll start with Minnie Mouse. Minnie Mouse, previously I was using 4. I've actually taken that down to 3. Prior to this set, Minnie Mouse was the main evasive attacker, or the only evasive attacker. It required Minnie Mouse, it required crabs as well, which are on this table here. Those were the only 2 options. That is no longer the case thanks to this, which is RLS Legacy. Whenever a character is at this location, it gains evasive. Essentially, we can have any evasive character. It doesn't really matter what. As a result, I feel like Minnie has almost diminished a little bit. Let's not forget it is a 2 lore character, so it is still very important. Especially very early on in the game. If you can get one down turn 3, it can set your opponent kind of like off track a little bit, trying to find a way to get rid of an evasive character so early. We have taken that down to 3 for this week to see how this goes. In its replacement, however, there's a couple of new additions. First off, I'll start with another 3-drop in Aladdin, which is from the first chapter set. When you play this character, each opponent loses 1 lore. Wasn't fully comfortable with having a control deck that doesn't actually have any control over the lore gain. I realise this is only 1 card, it is inkable, and this is going to be a little bit of a test today to see how it can stand up in this set. It might turn out absolutely terrible, it might turn out okay. Previous to this, I was using 3 Ursula. That is a 7-drop. Realistically, at this point, it's just too far in the game to have one of those in, so I'd rather have something inkable. I wanted something that was inkable, something that could help control lore. In a couple of practice games I've done Pixelborn, it's actually helped a little bit, so we'll see how it goes today. There was actually 3 of this cards on the table a moment ago, but I have taken one out, because today I'm going to be running 2 Madame Medusa and 1 Lady Tremaine. Medusa is a great card. It allows you to target, which is one of the big strengths of this card, but in my opinion also one of the drawbacks, particularly where we're at right now with lots of Emerald decks. Emerald decks love cards with ward. They love cards that can't be targeted. If we take out Lady Tremaine, the only cards in this deck that can get rid of ward cards are Be Prepared. Apart from that, we're relying on the opponent of getting rid of them themselves. To me, that's not really control. I feel like I need more options in there to be able to dictate the game myself. As a result, I feel like Lady Tremaine's the way to do that. Again, a couple of practice games, and I've really enjoyed it. To be honest, I would like to add 1 more of these in. It then leaves the question of what I take out, and if I take something out, it would have to be uninkable. I don't really know what other uninkables there are on the table right now that I feel like I could take out without making a massive difference. So this week we're going to try 1 Lady Tremaine. Probably going to put up to 2 for next week, but at the moment we'll try 1, we'll see how it goes. Another addition for this week, an extra Jim Hawkins. Jim Hawkins, I used 2 copies last week and I have 3 copies, which is great. I think 3 is where I'm kind of comfortable with it. I'm not entirely certain about putting a 4th one in. I think 3 is probably where I'll end up. The next adjustment is Rafiki. I really wanted an extra 1-drop. I'd been using 7 1-drops, and I don't know if it's just my luck, I just felt like I needed 1 more. I can't stress how important it is, particularly in this deck, to get 1-drop straight off the top. You need a 1-drop. Like, it's not even, you need a 1-drop. It was a case of adding another Minnie or an Olaf, which was maybe not a bad thing, but I thought I'd try something else. I wanted to try Rafiki, which gets Challenger plus 3, which can then take out opponent's Minis or Olafs or anything that has 3. It cannot withstand a Teeth and Ambitions, however. Using a Teeth and Ambitions will take this card out. I think it'll be an interesting experiment, so I'm really looking forward to trying out that one today. Finally, the last adjustment is an extra Prince Eric. This one was a surefire from last week. It had to happen. Such a good card. I think 2 is kind of where I'm comfortable with for Prince Eric just now. I do have an extra one in case I do decide that 1 more could help. However, I do feel at the moment 2 is more than enough. Again, coming back to the uninkable situation. So that leaves a total of 15 cards. Roughly 1 in every 4 cards in this deck is an uninkable. Right now we're in a situation where games are dictated very early, I feel. Emerald has a lot of control over your hand very early on, and you really do have to get up to 7, particularly in this deck, as quickly as possible. If you're not at 7 ink by turn 7, you're really going to struggle. Life can be made a lot bit more difficult for you. As a result, I think it's so important to keep the uninkables as low as possible. This is very much an experiment at this point. This might not go perfectly today, but I'm feeling quite confident with it. I kind of feel like I've had a lot of practice with a lot of these. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to this one to see how it goes. So this is a pre-match report. I'll do as much filming in the venue today as I can. There are certain things that I'd prefer not to do, such as filming my opponent or my opponent's cards. So I will try to get as much footage as I can without invading anyone's personal space. I'll see you back here for the post-game. So we are back for the post-game. Truth be told, I did try to do this as soon as I got home. My camera battery, however, did run out, and as a result I have had to spend a little bit of time charging it. Nevertheless, I've laid out on the table all the cards that were used in the deck today. Most of them should hopefully be in vision. I do want to point out a few cards that I feel like were a good addition, some of the newer cards compared to last week, some of the cards that I felt worked, some of the cards that I feel did not work. So we'll start off with the inclusion of Aladdin, and I cannot stress how much of a help this was today. I think there was a game where I bounced about 3 times in a row, just bounce, 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 and I guess you could argue, well, if you're that good at using this deck, you wouldn't even need to control the opponent's lore. Maybe that is the case. However, for a player like myself, I found it invaluable. Super, super helpful. The only drawback was only having 1. Now, moving on to the draw functionality of this particular deck, and to be honest, there was a couple of games where the drawing just caused us real problems. It wasn't quick enough. There was a few games where dead draws straight off the top. I think particularly the very first game that I played, my hand was just absolutely terrible. I tried to recover as best I could. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough, and the opponent did end up winning that game. I do feel like there's opportunities for me to win the game, and mistakes. There was a lot of mistakes in there throughout the day, and I think that's just the difference between playing in person and playing online. I think when you're online, it is a little bit more laid back. You've got a lot of time to think. When you're playing in person, you know, you're sitting in front of someone, you're playing with someone, and I think just that atmosphere of the place, occasionally you'll have people stand behind you or beside you watching your matches, and at the moment that's still affecting me, I've got to be honest. So the elephant in the room has got to be the exclusion of this particular card here. This is, of course, Maleficent, a 3 ink cost Maleficent. When you play as character, you may draw 1 card. Most commonly used to combo with friends on the other side. You play Maleficent, you draw a card, your next turn you sing with Maleficent. For friends on the other side, you draw 2 cards with a cost of 0. I took 4 of these out. I'm probably going to put 4 of them right back in again, because not having this card, as simple as it is, it did make a big difference. Don't get me wrong, there's loads of cards in here that we can sing with. Did manage to sing with Merlin Rabbit a few times. Merlin Goat as well, to sing friends on the other side. The Crab on occasion. Even Prince Eric, I think I sang with Prince Eric. But I just feel like Maleficent speeds up the deck. It gets through everything a little bit quicker, and it means that when you really have to draw the cards you do need, they're right there waiting for you. And as a result, 4 of those will definitely be going back in this thing. It does draw the question though, what comes out? Minnie Mouse is probably going to be removed from this deck, to see how that goes. In previous sets, this has been the go-to sort of early game lore gainer for this particular deck, because of its evasive ability, which really causes opponents, particularly early on, issues to get rid of it. This is no longer the case, however, thank you to our LS Legacy, which gives evasive to characters whilst here. And also the item card Mau's Fishhook, which was used a couple of times against us today, and possibly one that I might actually include a copy of in this deck too. Next of all, I want to kind of talk a little bit about Lady Tremaine. I added an extra copy, so when I got to the location I decided, you know what, I think I'm going to use 2 instead of 1. I just had a feeling, and I think that was the best way to go about it. Part of the reason for that was Lady Tremaine's ability is a shift ability, so you can play 4 to play 1 on top of the other. I didn't actually do that today, but if you do that, then you can bounce and you'll get 2 back to hand, so that's a nice little combo if you can pull it off. I didn't do that today, but having Lady Tremaine in this deck was a huge, huge help, and I'm super glad to go back up to 2. I know some players actually use 3 of those, But I'm quite happy with the two Madame de Satule that remain at the moment, and we'll see where it goes from there. Another new addition for this week, 2 Prince Eric. And again, I just love this thing. It's very, very good. I had the opportunity to do a double combo with it, as in have Prince Eric in the board, play Teeth and Ambitions, which does 2 damage to an opponent, which would have taken out one of the opponent's characters. And then Prince Eric, when he's removed or banished, you can choose another one to take out as well. And I would have essentially taken out 2 characters by taking out one Prince Eric. I messed that up, and I I just didn't really think properly, and I think I've just kind of rushed, and that's the other thing. Like playing these games, I just got to learn to take my time. I think 2 of the games that I did play, the opponent in particular that I was playing, you know, they really took their time and made sure they knew what they were doing. I think I got to do a lot about that as well. Sometimes I was just moving a little too quickly, or I just tried to pick up the pace of the game, and that can cost me on occasions, and it has cost me so far. So I really need to learn just to take my time, slow the game down. This is a control deck by nature. The games are going to be a little bit longer, and just give myself a bit more time. So today I played 3 games. I'm very happy to say I won 2 of those 3. The one that I didn't win was a draw. The very first game I played, best of 3 rounds. The first round I lost, the second round I won, and the third one went to time. The first game I was quite disappointed in myself, to be honest. I didn't have the opportunity to win the first game. I made a misplay with Merlin Crab, where I could have had the opportunity to take out the opponent's card, which I believe was going to quest for 2 to win the game. What I should have done instead of questing with the crab is just get rid of it, whack it into it, and then give the 3 to another character and another card, which I think was a snake, to put up to 6, which would then have taken the character out. I didn't do that, and as a result lost the game. Lesson learned. And again, just one of those situations, I need to just have a think before acting. However, coming back from that, I did manage to win the following 2 games. The next game was against the Steel and Emerald deck, slightly different from the meta version of this one. The player that I was playing against was one that it was their first time at the tournament, so I always enjoy these things, just getting an opportunity to meet new people and having discussions with fellow players about Lorcana and just trading cards in general. Finally, the third game was a mirror matchup. Now, for some people, the idea of a Ruby Amethyst mirror matchup would be their idea of absolute hell. However, I do actually quite enjoy these games because they're very methodical. They do tend to go on a little bit longer. Every single move matters. The pace of the game, everything is dictated move by move, and one bad turn can really throw you off and give the opportunity or open an opportunity for the opponent to do some damage. The first game I lost, it was a tight contest. The opponent did win it, and fair play to them for doing that. I feel like I could have done a little bit better in that one, but nevertheless that put me 1 game down. Going into game 2, my strategy basically just stayed the same. It's just stay true to the way that I played the deck and really just try to draw more. I think the draw was a really big factor, particularly in the mirror matchup, where you know there's not going to be anything like a Home Your World to get rid of your hand. You know there's not going to be any discard from Emerald that will get rid of your songs. So you know your hand's safe. As long as it's in your hand, it is pretty much safe. And as a result, drawing is the best thing you can do in the mirror matchup. And I didn't pay enough respect towards that, I feel. I was too complacent with trying to challenge for the board far too early on and not look at the longer term, get as many cards as I can, and really control the game from there. Fortunately, in game 2, I was able to do that a little bit more. And then in game 3, I think the opponent just didn't get a very good hand to start with. Quite similar to myself in the first game, I think they struggled with their opening hand. And I think they had 3 B prepareds in their hand at the end of the game. They only had about 6 ink, they never got up to 7 quick enough. And with this deck, if you do not get up to 7, you're in trouble. You really have to get up to 7 as quickly as possible to give you access to every single card. No matter if you're top decking or whatnot, it just opens the board up. Their Ruby Amethyst deck was a little different to mine. They had some Cuscos in there, they used Maleficent Dragon, which is 9-drop. So there was a couple of slight changes. Most of the sort of features like the Queen's Castle, your Madame Fox's, Friends on the Other Side, Teeth and Ambitions, they were all there too. Look, I think I'm not a professional competitive player, and based on those 3 games today, it's quite evident that I'm not a professional competitive player. But yet again, I feel like these cards have put me in a position to compete. And I think this is maybe the 3rd video in a row I've spoke about or mentioned this now. For me, it's not about winning at the end of the day. It's just about being able to compete. And if I win, I win. If I don't, I don't. Just giving myself the opportunity to do something. And I feel like at the moment these cards are doing that. We're still tweaking. There's things that I think could be better. There's things that can come out. Maleficent is certainly going back in there to try to speed this thing up. But we're learning week by week. And like, these locations are fantastic cards. I think this one certainly won me game 3 of the Mirror matchup. The opponent didn't take it out quick enough. They left it in the board, and I won't hesitate to guess that I got maybe 8 to 10 lore off it in total. So that's 4 or 5 turns that it was sitting there and they didn't bother attacking it. And it just caught up with them. And it kind of takes their game out of their hands. I think everyone is aware of the damage of Queen's Castle because of the draw functionality. But do not underestimate RLS Legacy as well, because Hit has 1 more health than it. Still gets you 2 at the start of each turn, and also gives your characters evasive. So also a very, very good card. Costs slightly more to get your first character there, but only 1 thereafter. And yeah, it's a great card. So I think that was slightly underestimated by the opponent in game 3. And fortunately for me, it worked to my advantage. Now, for the really good bit, the prize. And what do you get for coming second in one of these tournaments? Well, I'm very happy to share with you guys that I got 2 promo cards, which is a Jolly Roger, which was featured in last week's as well, which is really nice. So I got another way of those, and also How Far I'll Go as well. So this is another promo card, 2 promo cards this week, as well as 2 packs too. Let's crack these things open. I do quite like bringing packs back to open them on this channel. Most players do open them in the store, but I just kind of feel like this is a nice way to kind of share with you guys what kind of happens and, you know, the results of playing in these tournaments. So we got Mindful Thatch. It'd be great to get something that is deck worthy. Maybe another gem, although I'm not entirely sure. I'd play another gem, just a Stratos however, and also a common Orval. So pack 1 was a little bit of a dud, unfortunately, today. However, we do have 1 more opportunity to hopefully pick this up with a Jafar pack. So let's see how we go here. So we'll take these 2 from the back, and pack 2. This is actually an interesting card. I really thought about attempting to use this Powie. When this is banished, shuffle it back into your deck. I think having 1 out in your deck might actually be useful if mill decks ever become a thing, where the opponents basically just try to make sure you get rid of cards. Hades, a super rare Scrooge McDuck, and also a common Starkit. Alright, so we'll get a Scrooge McDuck and a Hades. Not terrible, no legendaries, but we did get a super rare, so I guess from 2 packets, that's pretty decent going. This has been week 2 of Lorcana League. Thank you so much for joining me again for this one. I will do my best to start getting more footage of the store, and maybe even just asking the opponent if they wouldn't mind speaking a little bit in camera too, because I think that would be quite a nice little bit to include. Hope you've enjoyed this video. I look forward to kind of watching these back in a couple of weeks time as well, and just seeing the evolution of the deck myself. I feel like every week slight changes are happening and things are coming together. We're not there yet. I've never won one of these things. I don't know if I ever will, but I am really enjoying this trading card game. For the vast majority of people I've played as well, have been great. Really excited to see what's in store for this trading card game, and really excited to see what happens with the channel. I was speaking to a fellow content creator, Earlmeister, whose link I'll leave in the description of this one. I don't want to give too much away, but I'm really hoping that very soon we might have some cross-creator content coming up, so stay tuned for that too. We're now at the halfway part of this Lorcana League. We have 2 weeks remaining before the pin badges will be handed out. Thanks very much for watching. I'll hopefully see you next week for week 3.